record. All right, so this is where we are. We are actually working with data types. So let's continue and see where we can get to with this. We're going to work with numbers first because numbers are easy to work with. So we're going to focus on integer as well as real. All right, I hope everybody's hearing me. Well, how do I say that now? Are you hearing? Everybody hearing? If you're not hearing, you can read that, right? Everybody hearing?
Sir.
All right, good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's get into this now because this part is very, very important. This used to run my head hard at college because the messed up thing is that the person teaching us programming never wrote, I don't think she ever wrote a program in her life. But boy, it really messy. So let me show you what the issue is now. If I put AVG to integer here, integer, here's what happened. Let me bring this up a bit so I can see the execution console. All right. Let me run this. My program will not run. It will not run. Notice I get an error down here. Start to get errors and incompatible types and all kind of stuff. Why? Because this is set to integer. But when I'm going to divide, when I'm dividing, could easily be a decimal number. It can easily be a decimal number. Let me give you an example. If this were, let us say, for example, 5, there'll be 20, 19 for the answer. And when you run it, it'll be a problem. All right, that's one possible issue. So convert this to real and now run the program. You realize that no, it works because I get 6.33333. So AVG has to be set to real because I'm using this divide sign. We're going to come back to this a little bit later. We're going to come back to this. But there's something I want to show you before. Let me erase this divide sign a little bit. And let me run it here. So again, run. I get for the answer 19 basically. 1.9. If I were to convert any one of these numbers to a decimal number, let's say 5.3, we're going to end up in a problem now. Because this data type up here so is integer. All three of them, num1, num2, num3, they're all integers, but I'm putting a decimal number inside num2. That is a problem. My code, notice, this one run perfectly fine. But when I run this now, I have errors. Because this one, num2, should not be set to integer. It has to be real. So I have to erase this. Oops. Erase this. And we'll put this up as well. Integer. All right. And maybe I should put now num2 colon real semicolon. And when I run the program now, everything, the world is back in order. Everything flows as it should. Your data types are very important. Num2 is real, but because when I add num1, num2, and num3 now, what is going to happen is that AVG is now going to have a decimal number because it's also adding a decimal number in the mix. So AVG automatically is going to be a decimal number. I can change the total if you wish. Sum. Let me change this to. Oh, let me run this too. Let me run this and show you what happened. Run. It's all about creating errors. See? Error because sum is not registered as a data type. See? Identifier not found. 11.11,5. Sum isn't found. Identifier not found. In other words, I didn't declare it sum.
So I have to go up here and change this to sum. Now when I run this, I have another problem. All right. Sum is set to real, but here what now? Sum equal to num1 plus num2 plus num3. Num2 is real. But then I write this AVG. AVG is no longer there. So I have to convert this back to sum. This is the headache where you can create something when you're writing a program. If I spell sum, S-U-M, or yeah, let's make this error. This one is nice. S-O-M-E. Still going to have a problem. Didn't find this identifier. Identifier not found, S-O-M-E. So these are the things that happen to you when you're writing a program. You need to spell your variables consistently. If you make a mistake with one, make sure that mistake is replicated all the way through your program. The spelling, because guess what? It will give you a problem for run. Make sure you check your data types to make sure that if you're using a particular variable as integer, make sure you don't put decimal numbers in that data type, else you're going to end up in problems. These are some of the common mistakes made when students are writing code. All right, we're going to go to some others. Anybody have any questions so far?
Sir,
Yes.
I noticed when you run the program a while ago, it says average is,
Oh,
when you
yeah.
run it a while
I
ago,
didn't change this, right?
then
I
it
should have put
says
the
average.
total. Oops, sorry. Control Z. I should have
Sir.
put total here. You see, all of those are little stuff that happen to your program that you have to pay attention to. I mean, it's a brain dead thing almost. Since me stop writing code on a particular level, I'm just teaching it right now. I mean, it's kind of boring, so I just kind of sometimes I just can't bother because there's no challenge in it anymore. So sometimes you kind of get mentally distracted, as focused as you normally should be, right? So the total of the numbers that's what should be there, not the average. So all of these are little mistakes you have to pay attention to when you're writing a program.
Okay,
But
so sir, you can run it now. Let me see it.
run it, man. Let me run it, show you. The total of the numbers is,
Oh,
yeah. So all of these are little things you do to your program and kind of get a feel of what it is supposed to do and how it's supposed to work. Now let's mess with a few more. All right, let's use a string. Just have an idea. So remember now, guys, pay attention to how you use your numbers. Because if a variable is set to integer and you use that number for a decimal number or so on, or any answer to contain that number, the decimal number, and set to integer, you will have problems. For example, if sum is set to integer, I'm going to have a problem. Why? Because I'm adding a decimal number in it. Num2 is a decimal number. So sum will never be an integer. It's no longer an integer. It has to be a real or a decimal number. So let me run that and show you now. See, I have a problem because I'm adding a decimal number inside with the other numbers, and I'm telling the computer, like, guess what? Sum going to contain whole numbers. It can't contain whole numbers because a decimal number inside there. So these are some of the things that you track and audit your program. And the longer the program is, the more likely it is you're going to make mistakes. Trust me, guys, it is difficult and it's tedious. That's why your program is not going to be very long. The longest is going to be, I think, is 20, maybe 25 lines of code. And if you're looking at this, if we use every line, it's probably almost that. Not going to be very long. Let's use string now. Let us say we use item colon string semicolon. All right. So when I put in item here, item colon equal to let us say I'll put a single quote there because it's important. Let me put it there. Let me say put item as phone semicolon, and I run this. I'm gonna have some problems. The phone not really work. because if it's a string variable and I want to put it inside item, I should have it set as, I should put it inside the quotation marks, single quote. So item equal phone. Now this item is string. A string variable is a variable that will not be used in a calculation. It can be a name, a place, a greeting, as in good morning. Hello students, how is your day? It can be something as long as that. It can be even longer, it can be a whole sentence. Now when I run this, come to me now. Item that string. What mistake did I make now? Small int dot. Oh, we still have this test now. Still have this foolish here, so real. Sure. Let me put this back. Let me put this back so it don't mess up my demonstration. Put this back. Let me remove all of this together anyway, so we can see exactly what happened. Run this, put this back to real, run. My program runs. Cool. Now let me put item colon equal to phone semicolon, and run this. I have an error. For this to work properly, I have to put this in single quotes. Single quote here and single quote here, and then my program should run. It runs fine. Program runs, but I need to probably output what is a phone again. And put yourself phone as well. So when I say sum, whatever, and phone. We'll run this again. Oh, granny, on a phone. Item, sorry. Oh, boy. Item. So you see, total is 1.9, that whatever, I see phone at the end. That's basically what that does. All right, so this is how we use a string variable. All right, a string variable is normally a word or a phrase. You can still say, greetings one and all. How are you? Oops. How are you? Run this, and this will come out on the screen. Greetings one and all. How are you? That's a string variable does. It can be a phrase, it can be a name, it can be anything that you don't do calculation with. Last night I had an upheaval with character. Because I know character is supposed to work. I should remember to try it again. Character is supposed to allow basically something as long as this, but it wouldn't work. I'm wondering if I'm so convinced by it, but I'm getting my programs mixed up. Because I know I'm almost sure because I do it in Pascal recently. So character for the safety syllabus is one letter or a number or a symbol. And it works now. But I know, me can't almost put my neck on the block that character in Pascal, I know that is the case in C programming and C#, and know that and Python. But I'm almost sure in Pascal is the same thing. I can put gone. All right, gone. And it should work for character, but it doesn't work. And if you check my levels, I can make sure my head screwed on right. But character normally refers, for safety purposes, it means one letter or a number or a symbol. It can be even a and sign, and it works. It can be a number, it can be 5, still work. Because this number 5 now is no longer a value of 5. You know? It's more like a name. This 5 is not really a number value because I can't add it. If I say plus item, my code will refuse to run. Can't run because this is a character variable or even string variable. Same thing, it won't run. But I want to check that back on Pascal though, because someone just convince it. We convince them right, I mean, know somebody is already in Pascal. But because I don't practice it that much anymore. All right, so this is what happens. So when you're running your program, guys, and you're looking for errors, you have to remember, check the spelling of your variables. Number one, make sure they're consistent. Number two, make sure your data types are also appropriate. Make sure if a string you're using a string. If an integer you need an integer. And check the calculations. For example, num2 is real. So anywhere you use num2, make sure the container, the data type for the variable to hold the answer for anywhere num2 is, that is also set to real. You have to make sure that, because your computer will give you an error when it's trying to compile the program. It's going to give you an error. There are no two ways about that. I'm basically 100% sure that's what's going to happen. Because it's happened to me all the time. I used to pull out the earth of my head. So I sit for 4 hours trying to figure out why my program now run. And I one simple little dege something. Sometimes I miss a comma here. You have a statement. The total of the numbers is, but you didn't put a comma to separate the variable from the actual statement you're putting out. And you select run, it doesn't work. Put the comma back in here, put it back there, and run the program. All is right with the world again. So guys, I'm telling you, coding is too intricate for you to sit down and think you can learn it passively. It will not work. It not gonna work. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can feel free to make your own mistakes. Are there any questions so far? And that's quite a mouthful, you know. I'm only showing you some of the mistakes you're likely to make. So when you're practicing, you know what to look out for. But are there any questions, anyone? No?
Sir, how you know when to use string and character, sir?
All right, cool, good question. How do I know when to use string and character? Let me start off with an easy one. For you right now, who you're learning, just learning program for the first time, use string most of the time, right? But character, you normally use that if you're going to enter one, according to CXE. We're still not sure for Pascal yet, but according to CXE, you normally use that if you're entering one digit, whether 0 or 1 or 5 or -2 or something like that. I don't even think -2 would work, because the negative sign is already a character. So 0 and so on. So anything that you're going to use, just one stroke of the keyboard is character. For string, if you're typing in a word like is or more or contemporaneous or so forth, those are, or was it supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? Yeah, invent some word. Anything that you have more than one character would be a string variable. That's what CXE says. We're still going to work on this some of the thing though, because I'm basically sure, because I'm not written C programming in a long while, or Python, or C++ or C#. So the fact that this is so fresh in my head, I'm sure I get more than one characters into character already, into the data type character. Make sure of that. Let's check it out again and make sure still. And I make sure, but I figure and see if it works in this, I'll try a different programming compiler like Lazarus and so on and see what happens. Because I'm sure it worked already before. All right, so but anyway, that is your idea. So string, you use that if you're typing a word or a phrase or a sentence or a greeting, verb, noun, anything that you want to do a calculation with. Character is a single digit or a number or a symbol. That's character for CXE purposes. Integers are whole numbers, whether negative or positive, including 0. And real are decimal numbers. If you decide to say 5.2 or 10 point, even 10.0 is still going to use as a real data type. Anything with a decimal number is real. Anything without a decimal number, whole number, negative or positive, is integer. Boolean or Boolean, those we'll look at at some extent, not next class so much, but the following class. The last class on Pascal, you get a good feel of what Boolean is and how they work, or Boolean, whichever one they prefer to pronounce it as. Are there any questions, guys? Okay. Here's what I want you guys to do. Oh yeah, this is what we did last class. Last night I think it was. We used this, the IPO chart, to give an idea. Like this is the input part of the IPO chart, and really it is write line and read line. And then the 2 forward slashes making the comment. This is the process section of the IPO chart. We can color code it too, so you can see the colors matching the IPO chart. And so whichever way that works for you, but this is a feel of what you're going to do. So anything you're going to write a program, think an IPO chart, what you need to put in. So with that said, I wanted you guys to just practice. There are 3 questions here. Try any 3 of them in the program. And I'm going to share this file with you so everybody has access to it. Copy link, change, and to make sure everybody has it. Viewer, good, viewer, I wanted to view, not edit. And then I'm going to put it in the chat. Control V, put it in the chat, as well as in the WhatsApp group. So here is the notes in the WhatsApp group. So you have that as well to look at, to practice. So you can come on the document. Guys, everything that is on this thing here, you're supposed to know it. Every single thing from page number 1, from Pascal introduction all the way through. When you read it, you're supposed to question what it's about. You're supposed to know what it is and get comfortable with it. All right. Here's a simple age calculator thing that we did. You can mess around with this too. A Pascal program. You can copy and paste it inside the compiler here. Let me copy this. Control C. Sure. Control C. Why do you think that will work? Control A, Control V. Oh yeah, it worked. All right. So age calculator. Let's run this. See? Just copy and paste and it runs. So you can go on and mess with it if you want. Hello, what is your name? Somebody give me a name. Anybody?
Jane.
Jane. All right. If you don't mind, what year were you born, Jane? Jane. Who said Jane? Come, give me a year when Jane born. 2002. Put in a year. Jane, you are now 19 years old. Simple little program that we call an age calculator. So I want you guys to think about this and see, can you reproduce simple programs like this without looking back at them? Just not by remembering what you saw, but by figuring out the code. That is what I want to, because guys, I tell you, if you don't practice, you're going to get hurt on your SBA because the programming part values the most marks, 1. And 2, CXC will not test you on Pascal, but the problem solving part of the exam, they ask you stuff about programming, but not any particular programming language. That is the most tested area on the exam. So guys, you should practice. You have to practice. If you want to really get a handle on this, you have to practice. I am, now is 10 past 7. Good, not a problem. Let me stop the recording.